If you're early to mid-game in Raid, here's 7 gearing basics to help carry you through to mid-level. Hey guys, Finally Sleeps here with another video in my Just the Tips series for Raid beginners. Today we're going to look at my top 7 gearing basics tips for early to mid-level players in Raid. First though, make sure you subscribe here at YouTube. It does make a big difference on the channel. That out of the way, let's dive right in no particular order of importance. Number 7. Hopefully you already watched my top 5 list on gear notes you didn't know. But if not, make sure you watch it first because this list expands on it. And the link for that video is in the description. So let's get into this one. This is number 7. 3 sets of gear that will carry you through mid-game are lifesteal, speed, and accuracy. Those 3 sets of gear will be your best friend in every aspect of the game early on. You can farm Dragon for all 3. They are available in campaign, but you're going to get better gear for these 3 sets over at Dragon. Lifesteal is going to help keep you alive, which because it heals your champion by 30% of the damage dealt. You can see that over there in the bottom with a set of 4. Then speed or accuracy as a 2-piece gear set basically fills in and balances out whatever lifesteal is missing or whatever that champion requires more. If they're dealing damage or healing your tame, go with speed set so that they can take more turns quicker. If you're laying down debuffs on the enemy though, then finish off lifesteal with a 2-piece of accuracy so the debuffs can stick. Number 6, the bottom row of gear, gauntlets, chest plates, and boots are the 3 pieces of gear where you can focus on major stats. As a general rule for damage dealers, you're going to want crit rate on your gauntlets in mid to early game because you're trying to hit that 100% crit rate, so you're almost certain to land bonus damage for hits being critical. Now, if it's a support or a defensive champ, you may opt to go with HP percentage or defense stats here as well. So we have defense percentage on MYTHLAX. The reason that being is you're trying to keep them alive. They're a support champ. Now those 3 gauntlets will be your most sought after plan on selling any gauntlets with flat stats for attack, HP, and defense. You're only going to keep your crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, HP percentage, and defense percentage for your gauntlets. Now number 5, moving on to chestplate. Right away, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to sell any chestplate with a flat stat for attack, HP, and defense. You're only going to want percentage stats here for those 3. Now, for most champions at early to mid game, you'll do best sticking with defense percentage in most cases for your chestplate. I think we have, defense percentage here on Scarhide. It's especially when you're dealing with like clan boss and everything. If your champion is laying down important debuffs on his AoE attacks, such as decrease defense, decrease attack, or weaken, then you may opt for accuracy on your chestplate as the primary stat. Number 4, moving right along to the boots. Early to mid game, 99% of the time, you're going to go with speed on your boots. Speed is such an important stat very early in the game in every single aspect of Raid. From arena to dungeons to clan boss, speed equals going first. It also equals going more times. More times means more damage, more heals, quicker revives, etc. Speed is the key throughout Raid, even into later areas of the game. You're always going to be looking for speed. And the same for gauntlets and chest plates. Go ahead and sell any boots you end up with that do not carry speed or percentage stats for attack, HP, and defense. There are certain instances when you will find a champion that works out better not to have speed boots. Can we find one that doesn't have speed boots? Is there anybody that we're using right now that doesn't have speed boots? Oh, see, this is how important it is. Let's find someone. Speed. Who? Who am I not worried about speed here that we can show? Oh, see, this is showing you the importance. There you go. HP percentage on miscreated monster. That, if that tells you anything, it's just how important speed is on the boots. Okay, number 3, moving down to accessories. For rings, go with the stat most likely to help your champion. Basically, most of the time, this is based off of 2 factors. Either what stat their damage is based off of, or whether or not you need them alive to support the rest of your team. Now, let me explain that just a little bit further. So, if we look at Scarhide, all of his skills, they say the damage is based off of defense. So for this champion, you're going to throw a defensive set of rings on him because that's where that stat comes from. Now, it's not always the same thing. So this is a defensive champion, so we know everything's based off of defense. If we go to an HP champion, such as Artak, you can see HP is where his damage is based off of. So you're going to be best to go with an HP stat there for his ring. Again, for attack champions, they're generally going to have, where we go, Baron is attack. That means attack is going to be where his damage is based off. You're going to throw in an attack ring for those type of champions. If it's somebody that's a support champion that you're trying to keep alive, then you may go with HP or defense there for that stat. Let's see, what did we end up putting on him? We put defense on MYTHLAX, even though, everything is based off of defense, even though he's a support. Here, we'll look at Arbiter, who's definitely a support champion. Attack is what everything's based off of. For her ring, went with defense as well, just because we're trying to keep her alive and in the game. So ambulance, number 2, these are interesting in that they're the only accessory that only offer flat stats for substats, other than crit damage. And their primary stat is the only accessory where crit damage is an option as a primary stat. For attack-based champions, you're basically going to throw crit damage on your ambulance as a general rule because you're going to keep your crit rate above 100. Crit damage is going to come into play. Now, if it's a support champion or a specialty champ such as defense or HP type champions where crit rate is not as much a priority, you may want to match their type with the stat on the amulet or whatever stat will most benefit keeping them in the fight. So if we look at, let's see, someone who is defense based, Scarhide is defense based. Did we go with crit damage? Yes, we did go with crit damage there. Artak, we went with crit damage, even though he's HP based. But Skill, who would be a support champion, we have crit damage. Do we have her crit rates at 92? So it's crit damage, HP, defense. Those are going to be your main thing to kind of match up with those. Number 1, the last accessory is the banner, which is the only one available that will give you accuracy as the main primary stat. These are only available once you have a champion taken to 6 stars of Ascension as well. Now for this, you're probably going to want to focus on 2 factors. Like I said, accuracy is the only primary stat where it pops up in the accessories is on the banner, but the other one is speed. Banners are the only accessory where speed is a substat is possible. Since we already know how important speed is, missing out on this substat in a banner is usually a no-no. If your champion is landing debuffs, go with accuracy for your banner as a rule. You can never have too much accuracy later in the game. So here for Artak, obviously accuracy for it, but again, it's also speed as the substat. Like the other accessories, if accuracy is not a factor, then stick with the stat damage is based off of for everyone but support. For those, go with the primary stat that keeps them in the fight. Now, one last bonus note here on gear. Early and mid game, Resistance is not as important as the other stats, but as you reach mid-game and round the corner into mid to late game, resistance becomes much more important. Two pieces of gear offer resistance as their primary stat: banners and chest plates. Now I suggest you hold on to both for anything 5 or 6 stars that you might come across on your way through mid-game. Eventually you'll be glad that you kept them, and you'll be able to use them in your gear, and they will do you well, like high into Doom Tower and some of the major bosses. Sell any piece of gear with resistance as the primary stat with 4 stars or less though. By the time you're worried about resistance, you'll only be dealing with 5 and 6 star gear. Hope that info helped. If it did, make sure you subscribe here at YouTube. Turn on notifications so you never miss when anything goes live here on the Raid channel. Appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. I'm FinallySleeps, and as long as you keep tuning in, I'll keep making videos. Thanks for watching. If you haven't noticed, my YouTube channel has expanded. Subscribe here for Raid Shadow Legends content, but make sure you check out my other channels as well for EA Sports FC, everything automotive over at Gearheads, and visit Cringeworthy for a few laughs. Subscribe links are right over there.